Bob Joyce of the UConn Radio Network. Hey, Bob, how you doing?
Are you really this bored talking college football on June 4th? Come on.
Yeah, Bob. We're 13 days into the countdown, Bob. We started it pre-Memorial Day, so yeah, we are that nuts. That's what we're doing. We're all in on Fran Brown. That's our plan now.
I understand, and they had a good year last year. They had a fun year. That game at the Dome last November. The game was a lot of fun. I was very impressed with the passing game of the Orange, and we hung in there. So yeah, hopefully we have a repeat performance, maybe a little better performance by the visiting team. But yeah, it was fun the first time up there.
Yeah, that was a sneaky good game last year, and it kind of got lost in the sauce because it was the week before Syracuse's wild game with Miami, and then obviously the bowl game last year. But it's kind of weird, right, having a game late in the season last year and this immediate early in the season next year. I don't know if I ever remember this happening quite before, Bob, having two games. I get there's a whole off season in between, but two games kind of this close to each other like this.
Well, if you're in the ACC and you're playing a lot of teams, maybe that could possibly happen, or any big conference now with realignment. But for this, yeah, it's unique. But it is what it is, so we'll see on September 6th.
Yeah, I say the other reason we're talking football now, Bob, is we weren't doing any NCAA championship talk like you were doing a few months ago with the women. Give us just the brief current thumbnail of where UConn athletics are at. I know it was a quote unquote a down decade there for the UConn women, not winning a championship in 9 whole years, but they knock one off here this last spring. What was that like to see the women get back to the top of the pile? And man, oh man, they absolutely dominated that Final Four.
A lot of fun, and yeah, you know, Brian, from past years, Huskies had a really good habit of making good teams look really bad, and that's what they did at the Final Four. They defended exceptionally well. That was their bread and butter. And after the Tennessee loss, they really stepped it up in the D department. We got a glimpse when they beat South Carolina in February. It's like, ooh, they play like this, we got a chance. Well, they played like that, and they won the whole thing. And it wasn't just Paige. I mean, Sarah Strong's special player, and she's the next great one. And AZ Fudd really turned it on. I mean, now fully healthy, a lot of confidence, and let's see what she can do this year. And there's no reason to think why they don't have as good a chance as anybody to do it again next April in Phoenix.
Yeah, they got obviously no Paige Becker's back, but you mentioned the other former number one recruits overall in the country. Good to have a pair of those. I'm sure UConn will be all right this year. With Paige, you look at women's basketball right now. The WNBA is certainly having a moment. Caitlin Clark is a big driver behind what's going on. Where do you think Paige is going to be able to fit into this, this scene, this moment that women's hoops is having right now?
Great question. She doesn't have the flair probably that Caitlin Clark has, but she is efficient at what she does. Wonderful, wonderful teammate. We've seen that in all sorts of different ways, shapes, and forms on and off the basketball court. So I think that'll be big. But it's just going to take some time, just like anybody else does, and we'll see where the chips fall now. The team's not very good that she plays with in Dallas, so they will need to obviously tinker with that in the next year or two. But Paige will be fine. Paige will just do her thing, continue to be unselfish when she has to be offensive-minded when she has to be. So, but the sky's the limit for her. She's another one of those special talents that you always appreciate to have, and we'll see what the next step is for her in the WNBA.
Yeah, I remember some of the interviews with Geno in the tournament, just like yelling at her to shoot more down the stretch. Yeah. Like, nobody can guard you. Shoot the ball, which brings me to Geno. I always thought, Bob, and now he's done it, like he's not going to retire without at least one more national championship, and now he's gotten one more, but he's still there. How much does Geno still have in the tank right now?
Well, as long as Sarah Strong's there, I don't think he's retaring. Would you?
Yeah. Yeah, when you got the next best player in the country, right, you ride it out for a few more.
Right. He had just signed a 5-year extension about this time last year. So he's 1 year in. I would say at least 3, if not all 4, because he's got a really good team nucleus for the next couple of years. So I would think as long as Sarah's there, he'll stay. But yeah, he's a lifer, which what he and Chris Daly have done and continue to do. I mean, you said, we went 9 years without a natty. Well, but we kept showing up at Final Fours all but 1 year. Go figure. It's wild, the consistency that they've had between Sweet 16s, Elite Eights, Final Fours. It's nuts. I mean, they've been to 24 now and 16 of the last 17? It's insane. I mean, that's just the mark of consistency, just as good as Oklahoma softball has been. They're the equivalent in the college world. It's just incredible.
Yeah, when somehow that's the worst span you've had in the last 30 years. That's right. Telling. It's like, you only went to the Final Four every year. What kind of crap is this? Let's win the whole thing here. As we got Bob Joyce, we're talking UConn here, getting into our 12 games in 12 weeks, way far in advance preview of the football season. And we know Geno's a lifer there. I think we asked you about this last year when this was all going on in the Lakers stuff. Nick's job is open right now. I know Dan Hurley was quoted at some event last night about the Knicks job. Not another summer of that. I'd say I don't know if a guy like him is a lifer anywhere, but does he feel more lifer-ish now at UConn now that Lakers thing didn't happen, and it seems like he's staying put here, even though one of the quote-unquote jobs that he would go for in the NBA, it doesn't seem like it's necessarily going to happen.
No, and nor should he. I mean, the NBA, why would you go to the NBA when you've done such a great job at where you are and what you're doing? And, you make gobs of money, but, how much control do you really have? And with the coaching staff that he continues to keep in stores and the success they've had, they've got a couple of good transfers. Alex Karabin's back. They seem to have a good base. And, boy, I don't know if you've noticed this non-conference schedule that he's put together.
Yeah.
Good over the, there are no chintzy non-conference games so far. I mean, they are legit good, and they just upped the home and home with Kansas today. Mm-hmm. Got announced. So why in God's name would you leave stores for that?
Yeah, I wonder. You wonder what drives a guy like him, right? Like he got some guys just want they just get an itch right for the NBA and they can't turn it down. I don't know if is that your sense? Is that what it was with Hurley, or is like, hey, the Lakers called, you gotta listen last year, but he's good just being an aggressive and talented college coach.
Yeah, I mean, you got to listen to the Lakers, but I don't believe that either Dan or particularly his wife Andrea he had no chance of going west. I mean, cost of living, all their family, both sides are on the East Coast, and between starting in Rhode Island and then coming to stores and what he's built here, I just don't think he was ready to give it up. And UConn compensated him very well for it, and without the headaches. Well, I mean, there are headaches in very different ways, Brian, as we all know, but not like what you would have in the NBA. So, yeah, in big picture, Dan, no question, has made the right decision. And with the coaching staff that he's got, why would you leave?
Yeah, and as we just saw with the Knicks, right? You can have a really good season and not have a job anymore in the NBA. That's what happened to Tom Thibodeau yesterday. I'm intrigued. You mentioned their non-conference schedule, and the Kansas game just got announced today. We talk a lot about this from a Syracuse perspective of they're not playing Georgetown this year for the first time in 8 years. I don't know if there's any room left on the UConn schedule this year. UConn is in the Big East, so they do play some of these teams. Does UConn have an appetite for these, Big East, old Big East nostalgia games at this point, or is that not a thing from a UConn perspective right now?
I honestly could not tell you, Brian. I mean, it's you got to have two to tango. Question is, do those schools have any interest in playing UConn? Yeah. I honestly could not tell you that. That's between Dan Hurley, David Benedict, the AD, Tom Mora, who's now the GM for men's basketball, who puts the schedules together. I mean, you look at what they've got: BYU, Arizona, Illinois, at Kansas, Florida again, and Texas. That's a pretty good way to start. I mean, yeah, it'd be great to have the Huskies and the Orange meet again, but again, takes two to tango. It's up to people to come together and put together a schedule, and this is who we have right now. But I'm sure at some point, if there's interest, I'm sure they'll listen.
Let me ask you from this perspective: do you think the UConn fan base has appetite for that? Is that something that whets the appetite? To play I don't know, a Syracuse, a Pittsburgh, a whatever, or is that just so far in the rear view now that it's not a thing for the fans anymore?
There's probably some. I don't think it's what it used to be, for sure. I mean, the Q's isn't the same, obviously.
Yep.
Pitt, sort of, not great. So I don't know if the appetite's as much there as it used to be, but I would imagine if, hey, we suddenly put Syracuse on the schedule, there would be like, okay, yeah, sure, but is it worth it right now? I don't know.
Yeah, time moves on. It moves on. The idea I had the other day, Bob, is this. I'll float this on you. UConn and St. John's, obviously they're in the same league now. Syracuse and Pittsburgh. Like if everyone goes to the Garden and you do like a doubleheader with some combination of the ACC and the Big East teams, that gets everyone to New York City. Maybe that adds a little spice to something.
Yeah, for sure. I would agree there. And we call it Source South. Syracuse, big deal when they play there. St. John's, obviously. So, yeah, I mean, it would certainly bring back some memories, and some people think that there should be a Big East ACC type thing, but the ACC has already got the SEC to combat in the non-conference and that for those couple of days where, some teams play on the road, some teams play at home, but yeah, I mean, it's nice. And you mentioned that, Brian. I mean, it's not a real game, but, UConn and BC are playing a doubleheader at Mohegan Sun.
Yeah.
Exhibition game in the middle of October this year. So at least it's a start.
Yeah, those exhibition game rules are getting looser and looser for things like that to happen down the line. We got Bob Joyce, UConn Radio Network, with us. So here you are, football, getting ready for Jim Mora Jr.'s 4th year. That was one like, right, Bob? We talked about it at the time when he got hired. They're like, oh, that's interesting. And, decent first year, right? Kind of fell apart a bit in the second. Then he had a really nice year last year. Where are things at right now as far as Mora's progression at UConn and, doing that work as an independent football program?
Right. Well, the 3 years he's been here, Brian, the difference, from the success or lack thereof have been winning close games. First year they did. Second year they didn't. So they went 3-9. And this past season, I mean, they won some close games, but they surprised a few people with a few wins. But certainly, I mean, 9 wins is uncharted territory or very, very rarely traveled territory in stores. And what Jim's been able to do is amazing. I think it's been very, very impressive. Now, yes, he also got financial backing from a lot of people after they got embarrassed at Tennessee 2 seasons ago, and people got real and serious about it. Offensively, they're in pretty good shape. I mean, a lot of guys that played in last year's contest are back. The 2 quarterbacks are back, Fignano and Nick Evers. Cam Edwards, who had a 70-yard run in the first at the Q's. Victor Rosa, Mel Brown, they're back in the backfield. Skylar Bell, one of the wide receivers. They've got a boatload of tight ends that are fully healthy now. They've got to fill in a couple of holes on the offensive line. On the outside, on the exterior offensive line, Chase Line, is joining the Bills. In off-season, we'll see how that pans out for him. Mm-hmm. But most of it's defensively. They've got 6 transfers in on the D-line alone because they lost a lot there. 3 linebackers and 7 defensive backs, all coming off the transfer portal. So I would think they'll have a little bit of work to do there and see what these guys who, for whatever reason, decided to move elsewhere from their previous school, more playing time probably, maybe a few more bucks, I don't know. But I'm sure it will take a little time to get to see what the defense can do. There are some pieces and parts from last year's team that are there, but I would imagine it will be a bit of a growing pains like we saw early last season when they got thumped at Maryland and how this defense will be. But it's still going to be aggressive. Hopefully it'll still be as much fun to watch as they were last year. But the offense certainly, at least familiarity, we know is certainly more consistent there than it was in previous years.
How does Coach Mora, Bob, handle the idea of like a preseason goal with the team when you don't have the context of a conference, right? It's not like you can say, oh, okay, we're shooting to finish, win the league this year, get to a conference title game or something. When those things aren't on the table, how does he frame the course of the season?
Well, I mean, look, the goal is to be 1-0 every week. And it doesn't matter whether you're in a conference or not. That's always win the week, and just chalk up as many wins as you can, and see where the chips fall when it comes to bowl time. And that's pretty much all you can do. The beliefs are the same whether you're trying to win a conference championship or not, probably. You want to be the absolute best you can be, not only to make your current team better, but what your future prospects would be if you have any desire to be drafted. And I think Jim has that approach as well, being a former NFL coach. He kind of knows what they're looking for at the next level. And he's got a young coaching staff. Very few guys on his staff are his age. They got a bunch of young, energetic guys that, are hungry to make guys better. And so far, so good. What he's done in the first 3 seasons, quite frankly, given what the college sports world looks like right now, and all college sports, is pretty impressive. And the schedule's not great. There's no kingpins. Sure, you've got Syracuse, BC, Duke from the ACC on the schedule this year. They've got Air Force. That'll be fun at home. And then they've got return games with UAB, Rice, FAU. Ball State's coming here. So it's, outside of the 3 ACC teams, and I think that's something that, Jim was kind of bummed about last year, the lack of success that he had, because they had near misses every game before they finally beat North Carolina. Yeah, okay, bowl game, some guys to opt out, so be it. But big picture, I think the next step is be able to just get a couple of Power 4 wins if you can. But obviously, it's still, wins and losses are still the same. Conference or not, you want a pile of wins. That's no different anywhere. Just win.
Yeah, and heck, as you said, Bob, it was a touchdown game in the Dome last year in late November. The Huskies will be here this year, week 2, Saturday, September 6th. All right, Bob, always great to chat all things Huskies with you. Enjoy the summer. I'm sure we'll talk again when we get a lot closer to game time, all right?
All right, hit them well. Don't lose any golf balls.
Oh, well, too late for that. Too late for that already, Bob.
I understand.
There we go. Our guy, Bob Joyce from the UConn Radio Network. With that, we will take a break. When we come back, your calls rest of the way. 315-437-7644.